These West Coast games can get rough, Twins fans. Behind Byron Buxton, the Twins scored a bunch early against the Athletics. They looked like they were going to blow a 6-run lead at Sutter Bad for My Mental Health Stadium. Joe Ryan, who seemed to be talking to himself and inanimate objects even more than usual for him, couldn't find the strike zone. But the one-man time bomb/bomb squad figured it out, and later so did the Twins bullpen. The rest of these games in West Sacramento going to be like this? Hopefully not. Better just to prepare yourself and get locked on Twins.
You are Locked On Twins, your daily Minnesota Twins podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello again, everybody, and welcome back to Locked On Twins, your daily go-to source for the top Minnesota Twins insight, discourse, and analysis. Personally, it's my favorite show of the Imperial Locked On Podcast Network, which, by the way, brings you your team every day. I'm talking to you, Joe Polad. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe where applicable. I'm Dave Brown, an MLB writer who used to love staying up late, but now seems way too old for it. I'm also a BBWA member and a Hall of Fame voter. Across the great plains of cyberspace is Brandon Warren, who confused his dog by staying up so late to watch Twins baseball. I hope the players are happy with themselves. No. Brandon was a Twins fan who became a Twins writer, and now he's both. You can find more of our work eventually in Access Twins and Zone coverage. On the show today, we don't have a read, do we?
Yes, we do. Monarch Money. This episode is brought to you by Monarch Money. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONMLB at Monarch Money for 50% off your first year.
And the funny thing is, it says that here, but somehow I got lost in my own text. So,
it happens. It happens to the best of us. It also happens to me.
Filling in there. All right, go Monarch Money. Joe Ryan. The Joe Ryan experience, they call it. And it was an experience yesterday.
Yeah.
He was laboring. He was bleeding base runners and nearing 100 pitches, and the game was ticking like a time bomb in an explosive ballpark, as Rocco called it. Hey, this sounds like a Mission Impossible movie. But it wasn't impossible. Even in the Colorado-ish environment. Ryan got out of it, and now I know what I did. I meant to. Okay, so hey, it was a late night. I guess it's an early morning. So
yes, it is.
What can you do? It was a big offensive effort by the Twins, including from Buxton, who drove in 5. Joe Ryan labored with the lead and almost gave it back, but then he didn't give it back, and the bullpen put up zeros from there. Royce Lewis is still with the team and ready to end his slump at any moment, apparently. And we'll also address the latest injury news from around the organization. Much of it is frustrating and concerning, but not all of it. And then that's where I made my mistake, because then I was going to read about Monarch Money and all that stuff. But so Joe Ryan, I went back as I was watching Joe Ryan's 5th inning. It seemed apocalyptic. And like he was hitting guys and he couldn't find the strike zone. There was like one pitch that he got upset at the umpire about, but even I thought it was close. He didn't get the call, but he was all over the place. So I don't know how he can complain too much. People were saying, well, it should have been out of the inning anyway, and so forth. But it was a difficult start to the inning for Ryan, who started out really well. He was great in the first 2 innings, and he started to get a little traffic in the 3rd. And in the 4th, he started out pretty good again. He got an out. He was 0-2 on Luis Urias. Arans got a double play ball, but he beat it out. I don't know how he beat it out. It seemed like that should have been an easy double play.
Yeah, it did.
He got 1-2 to Clark, who then hit an infield single that Cody Clemens saved from going in the outfield. And then they visited him. They visited the mound before Butler, who had been hitting the ball hard, which I thought was interesting that they went to Mackey there. I wouldn't necessarily have thought that the pitching coach should have gone out. Then he hits a home run, and it's like a ball game again. And then the 5th inning happens, and not to be too play-by-play on that. But then they didn't visit Ryan in the fifth when it seemed like that was like the most discombobulated I've ever seen, or in a while have seen Joe Ryan in the fifth inning. You were surprised that they didn't go out and visit in that inning, right? To settle him down or something.
Yeah. And even if you ignore the fourth inning, because it was obviously difficult, I would have gone out and talked to him in the fifth. Then you consider that the fourth inning was bumpy. I don't know. I'm shocked, downright stunned they didn't go out and talk to him. And it ended up being okay. Was it 2 pop-outs and then a grounder to Clemens. I don't know if I've ever seen 2 infield fly rule pop-ups to the same player in the same inning. Like, that would be something I'd have to look up. But the Clark strikeout that would have ended the inning, like, it's frustrating, and a lot of people will be like, well, that's why, that's this, if that hadn't happened. True, but it's also like, that's just how you play baseball. You don't just stop playing baseball because something didn't go your way. So it was it had the feeling of something that was going to snowball, or that something had snowballed from the fourth inning into the fifth, and there was no indication that he was going to get out of that the way he did. None whatsoever. And so hats off to him, credit to him, but it felt for a very long time there that the Twins were about to blow that huge lead that they had been staked by Luis Severino, who has been absolutely dreadful at home this year. It's like a 7 ERA or 6-something ERA there, and then a sub-1 on the road. So not exactly home sweet home for Luis Severino. You're muted.
Man, I'm having a great broadcast so far, Brandon.
Hey, you're crushing it.
Dan Hayes was, I think, because Dan Hayes is from the Bay Area or something. He was like singing the praises of the place. Oh, this is great compared to Tampa. It's still weird. It's still a very strange place to play. All kinds of weird stuff, things that I didn't know. I mean, it looks dark, kind of like Tampa on TV, and you figure that it is sort of semi-minor league lighting. I don't know if that's true. I don't know if it was Plouffe or Provis or whatever.
Plouffe said the height of the light. The height
of light, but the thickness or the width of the warning track.
Yeah.
The outfielders didn't know, and you saw this with Buxton too. He looked like he miscalculated on a jump. Aaron's really miscalculated on one.
That was the Butler homer that he might have been able to take back, right?
Yeah, right. It was Butler, and he's brought back balls like that for sure. But the warning track is so wide that the outfielders lose track of where the fence is.
No, it's true. You get used to I don't know if it's a standard. It's got to be close to MLB's got to have a standardized warning track size, right? Like 8 feet or something.
No, I don't think so.
No,
I think that's. I mean, I've never heard that. If they have, it's new and I missed it, because that is one of those things that's left up to the ground crew. You notice, sort of on that note, and maybe this has changed, but if you notice infields where the dirt is compared to where the chalk line is, at least in the past, it's not the same. It's not uniform, even up to the base. And there is nothing in the rule book about what the infield dirt has to look like. There's absolutely nothing. Like, you'll see in Detroit, they have that path to the mound like they used to. You don't see that everywhere. But no, they
got rid of that, didn't they?
Maybe. I can't remember. But they had it, but they didn't get rid of it because it was against the rules. If they got rid of it, it was just to get rid of it. So, because like teams will tailor the infield if they want to bunt a lot. Nobody wants to bunt anymore, but if they wanted to bunt a lot, they would put the line in a certain spot. So if you put the ball down, maybe it would not go foul or go foul. The White Sox were famous for this, the Bossard family, the groundskeepers. So No, that stuff is left up to, and I think that's fine.
Yeah.
Generally, that each ballpark is kind of its own place, but you'd think it obviously it's not helping the A's any because their own player messed up. So on the warning track, but that's just one of the many weird things. And there's no direct path to the clubhouse and all kinds of stuff. So we talked about getting back to Joe Ryan. Actually, let's take our break, and then we'll talk more about Joe Ryan because that inning and getting out of it was a pretty fascinating moment in the season so far. So let's take our break.
Get the supplies you need from the site made for the skilled trades. That's right. That's Supply House. Whether you're in plumbing, HVAC, or electrical work, Supply House is the reliable way to order your products online. Their easy-to-use website is packed with helpful resources and the latest product info to help you get the job done right. Plus, with a complete inventory of over 200,000 parts from 400-plus top brands, you'll find exactly what you need delivered fast from coast to coast. And if you need help with an order, Supply House offers expert support and industry-leading service, so you'll always talk to a real person. And for trade pros, easy for me to say, looking for an extra edge, their free Trade Master program offers exclusive perks like a dedicated phone line, free shipping, and discounts on every single order. Thousands of skilled professionals are already taking advantage, and now it's your turn. Join the Trade Master program today at supplyhouse.com/TM and start ordering plumbing, HVAC, and electrical supplies with just a few clicks. Plus, use promo code SH5, that's Scott Hairston 5, for 5% off your first order. That's supplyhouse.com.
Locked On Twins is back. We're talking about the Twins' victory Monday night against the A's. Just kind of a sort of a wild, it ended up being a wild ball game. It looked like it was going to be, it was funny. It looked like it was going to be one-sided. Then Joe Ryan got wild and the A's got back in the game. But then it was, once he got out of this inning, I mean, I don't know that they gave up, but it didn't seem like they mounted any kind of threat. The bullpen was good. Like the only threat they really, it looks like maybe they could have scored against Cody Funderburk in the ninth inning, and they didn't. And that was like the closest they came, and they weren't in the game after that. The A's are weird. Tyler Soderstrom didn't run to first base on a ground ball to Ty France, and Ty France is like, you can still run. It's okay. I'm not going to.
He kind of showed him up, but I'm here for it.
Yeah, I don't know that it was. Do you remember the famous Deion Sanders, Carlton Fisk moment where Fisk didn't run out and Fisk yelled at him?
I saw a clip of it not that long ago for some reason. It was part of something I was watching. And so, yes, I actually am aware of it.
Well, it was kind of a boomer.
Like we run those out up here or something like that?
What's that?
Wasn't it like we run those out up here or something like that?
Yeah. I think that's what he said. I don't remember. I remember watching it when it happened. So this is like 1989 or something when Deion was first playing ball. And it was in Yankee Stadium. And Fisk was like, we run those out here. And he didn't run it out. And like these days, I might like be like anti-Fisk or anti-Boomer on that. Like, whatever, old man, mind your own business. But knowing all of what I know about Deion Sanders and his personality, I'm totally on Carlton Fisk's side. So I don't know if France was doing that with Soderstrom, but it was like, where's the runner? Are you coming or not? It was just kind of a funny moment. And there was another one, Butler. That was more, the Twins did that too. Buxton did that with his own hit, where it was a line drive to right field, and I didn't think it had any chance. I thought it was like really hard, but there's no way that's going over the fence, and there wasn't, even no matter how hard it was hit, and then it hit the fence on the fly. It was a bad look. And then there was another point where Severino was like the Twins had loaded the bases, and either the pitching coach or Kotsay was going to come out, and he like waved him off, and the A's, they started out kind of bad. Then they got hot, and it's like, all right, they're going to be a competitive team. And then ever since then, for the past month, they've been horrendous. So I don't know exactly what it is they have.
They've won one of their last 20 games, right? Like it's a crazy, horrible, bad streak. And yeah, that Mark Kotze not going out there to get Severino there was a big miss. And yeah, you got waved off. You also got waved off by a guy who has come back from arm issues, has had some really rough seasons. Like, this is not like Zach Greinke's waving you off. This is like, honestly, a Twins parallel would be like maybe Chris Paddock. And even then, Chris Paddock, when he waves you off, has been pitching incredibly. You look at the total package around Severino this year, and it doesn't make any sense with how he's pitched at home. Back to the France thing for just 1 second. I will grant that he's been pretty goofy over there. So yeah, he may have just been being silly, like not a whole like,
right.
You're loafing, so I'm going to make it obvious that you're loafing. More along the lines of like, he goes to the foul line and pretends he's a wide receiver catching the ball on the line and like trying to make a Chris Carter catch. Or there was a pop-up he fielded in, I think it was Tampa, where he caught the ball and then swung and hit. It was either Cody Clemens, Brooks Lee, someone playing second base who was like right in his kitchen trying to catch the pop-up from him. So he is goofy over there. So I will grant that he probably wasn't. But if he was saying, listen, if you're not going to run, I'm going to stand here until you look bad. Maybe I'm being a boomer too. I don't really have a problem with that.
No. Run to first. Get the ball, run to first. Kids are watching.
Just trot. Yeah, just trot. There's no reason not to at least make an effort.
Well, what happened the other day? It was Salvador Perez of all people in the Tigers game. There was a wild pitch, and Perez assumed that the runner on third base. There was a runner on third base, and there was a wild pitch. This was the only run scored in the game. Perez loafed after the ball because he assumed that the runner on third had seen it, and there would have been no chance that if the runner had broke immediately that he would have got him at the plate. But the runner didn't see it. I think he was screened by Perez or the batter or the umpire or something. He couldn't tell, or he froze or something, that he didn't realize that the ball had gotten away. And it cost the Royals the game. If Perez had run after it, I think he might have had a chance to get the guy at the plate. So it isn't so much, it's a mental break. It isn't being lazy, or it isn't, what people usually complain about. But it is kind of a mental getting yourself out of the competitive moment.
When things are going bad, these are the things that happen.
Yes. Ryan, hi, Rocco.
Yeah.
So this is what the manager, Rocco Baldelli, said, not the dog, Rocco, about the fifth inning. That inning could have turned into anything. It's almost impossible to get out of there with no runs being scored, but he cleaned it up so well. It was one of the most impressive things that I've ever seen him do, Rocco talking about Joe Ryan. So we go back, I don't know. We'd have to talk to Rocco and ask him directly about why he didn't visit the mound. But maybe that was part of the psychology. Like, all right, you've kind of gotten yourself into this. Let's see if you can get yourself out.
Smoke up, Johnny.
Exactly. You mentioned the pop-ups. Interesting part about that, I was watching the game again on the A's side with Dallas Braden, I believe, the color man, the analyst. Joe Ryan, he said Joe Ryan has the best pop-up numbers in the league. He's got a 50% pop-up rate, which I didn't even know was possible, and it's by far the best in Major League Baseball. Maybe you can look that up to just.
I'm looking up on Fangraphs right now.
Make sure. But it was as he had walked Shea Langoliers and CJ Alexander was up and Urias was up, and he's like, Joe Ryan's got the best pop-up rate in the league, and it was great. It was like, he was getting mad at himself, and he was saying, I'm going to take this into my own hands. So I understand what Rocco was saying after the fact about how it was one of the most impressive things that I've seen Joe Ryan do. I agree. I still might have gone out to the mound a second, even if you don't have anything to say, just to slow things down. But, that's why they don't pay us the big bucks to talk about this after the fact rather than actually manage. So
you go up there and be like Pablo or Pedro from Napoleon Dynamite. I don't have much to say. Just like to fill up the moment. Pop-up percentage. So according to one source that I have, it's Joe Ryan at 15.2%, ahead of Bailey Ober, who's second in MLB, 14.3. On Fangraphs, Bailey Ober is number one at 19.4%, and I do not see Joe Ryan at all. So there's definitely some statistical.
It's 30% difference. It must be. What do we consider a pop-up? I don't know.
Yeah, because Ober on Fangraphs, Ober at Fangraphs, 19.4% leads MLB. So that's, to me, based on some of the stats, like knowing generally speaking the averages for these stats, 19% is a massive number. And so Bailey Ober doing that is, a huge reason why he's successful when his ground ball rate's under 28%. If you're going to give up fly balls, certainly better to have him be on the infield than the outfield. I
saw this stat. Twins Radio had it. Joe Ryan, it was his first career win in his home state. And he is definitely from California, by the way, because he's wackadoo out there. Joe Ryan is, I've said this before, he's turning more into Mark Fidrich every day. And I don't know if he knows who that is. I don't know if anybody knows who that is. But he was talking to he wasn't talking to the ball. He was listening to it, though. He was listening to it. He was holding a runner on second base that wasn't there. He was a couple times. I don't know if he's like descending into some kind of wonderful madness, but he is putting the quirk and quirky right now.
Yeah.
But he started 0-3 with an 8.54 ERA in his 5 games in his home state. So maybe that's why he had all those base runners, because he's getting something out of his system. I don't know, but you see that Joe Ryan is as weird as he's ever been, right? And maybe more so than ever.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And I don't know, it could just be as simple as, he knows he's a big leaguer. He belongs. He's there to stay. And not that he hasn't been for a while, but just the more comfortable you get in your skin, the more your true self comes out. And I think, they always say he's a good dude, hard worker, all that. I just think he's a quirky dude. And I think that's the environment. Maybe that's the environment he's comfortable in is the California air. Although with that said, it could be too, just back-to-back minor league parks, kind of like he's just beside himself, because it was pretty clear he wasn't happy with either circumstance, which I get it. I understand.
We're going to take our second break and come back and talk more about the Minnesota Twins. That's a baseball team.
Well, if you're just like the rest of us and you've ever looked at your bank account and wondering where all your money went between dining out, online shopping, and entertainment, it's easy to lose track. And that's where Monarch Money comes in. It's your personal CFO giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center where you can track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place, so you stop just managing your money and start building wealth. When you use Monarch, you will find things out you had no idea about, like how much money you're spending on certain things, like gas in your tank or food delivery or any number of things, both good and or bad. But the collaboration's easy. You can easily share access to all your accounts with your significant other, so you can both be on the same page, which, as an extremely married guy, I can tell you is certainly a good place to be. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com and you'll get 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com. Code LOCKEDONMLB for half off your first year.
Locked On Twins, final segment, covering the Twins victory, the weird Twins victory against the A's on Monday night, and also not in the lineup again, Royce Lewis. Here's what Dan Hayes had a story about him. And he said, apparently this is a soft reset. You sort of broached that idea at some point, that they're not going to send him to the minors, at least not yet, but they are going to maybe take him out of the lineup a little bit. And,
Mhm.
they kicked him all the way down to 9, and
Clear his head.
now he's 10th. Now he's 10th on the order. And so he addressed his comments from a year ago about how he doesn't slump. And he didn't mean it like that, he says. What I was trying to say mentally was I don't go into, I'm 0 for 20, whatever. I go into the day thinking it's Luis Severino. I faced him in the past. I feel good. He didn't face him at all, by the way. I know his sinker and his four seam. That's my mindset. That's what I was trying to say. So I'll say it. I slump. A lot of people slump. Everyone slumps. Hopefully I play enough that I slump 100 more times. Royce, no. They let him talk again.
He can't help himself.
That's my goal, to slump 100 more times.
He
didn't mean it like that. In a year, they're going to be addressing.
He's just a yapper, and it's not harmful. It's just he just yaps, and it's
not
okay.
necessarily harmful, but it does sort of show you how his mind works, and maybe he's like lost in it a little bit. I don't know, but
yeah.
Dan described him as upbeat and working on his stride. Ain't nothing gonna break my stride, and honest about his slump.
Nothing gonna slow me down. Oh no.
So are we gonna see Royce Lewis back in the lineup after all? Because I could have sworn they were just about to send him down to the minors.
Yeah, I don't know if maybe another day would be beneficial here. I know they're facing, it's a Lopez versus Lopez. And so if I'm candid, I am not familiar with the fellow Lopez. It would, if it was a situation where it was a lefty, or no, Jeffrey Springs. Yeah, it's a lefty with Jacob Lopez. And then if I'm remembering correctly, is Jeffrey Springs left-handed too? Yeah. So I wouldn't be shocked if Jonah Bride starts at third base the next 2 days. And then maybe you get Royce back in there in the finale against Osvaldo Bido, who is a righty. Not because he, you don't want to take advantage of righty lefty or anything, but I think you can just easily be like, well, he's just getting a day. He's getting a day here. He's getting a day there, because the matchup is good for Bride. If you have Jonah Bride on your team and you're not starting him against lefties, there's no point in having him on your team. So it wouldn't shock me if it was maybe one more day, if not 2, just a reset. And I was trying to remember, the Twins did it with somebody. I want to say they did it to Brian Dozier back in like 2013, something like that.
A long time ago.
2012. I don't know. It was a couple days off. I know that they had him work with Tom Brunansky, who was the hitting coach at the time, and they were like counting clicks to like where his swing would get in terms of, I think, like slow-mo or frame by frame photography. And he was different after that. So I wouldn't be shocked if they're doing a similar approach, and not because anybody in the organization is still there, but just because baseball teams tend to do things in a similar fashion. They don't want to, it's like you don't want to cut open the arm when rehab can work instead. So I think that's kind of how it's going right now.
Injury update. Some of this is frustrating. Sorry to be the bearer of frustrating news. Emmanuel Rodriguez is on a 7-day IL with a right hip injury. And I did notice he's only slugging 400. And his batting average is, he's not a high batting average guy, I guess, but he is walking. So there's
I think he's got a higher OBP than slug, which is never a good sign.
No, it's not great for a power hitter. So that's not good. Conversely, Walker Jenkins is ready to play, but he couldn't because he got rained out. There's some kind of it's not the Saints either. This is A ball. So he's in double. He's not even with the Saints, but you know what I mean. The Saints have had 12 million rainouts this year. I think that is literally true. So that gets delayed a little bit. Good news. Peyton Neals is back. He had knee surgery, which I didn't realize. It's a good thing I follow the team.
Yep.
So he's a step closer to being back. I don't know. It's cartilage damage. It's not. I don't know. Is that the same as meniscus? I don't know. I don't like to hear meniscus, but cartilage is whatever. So we'll see how he does, and it's good to have him possibly available to the team in 6 weeks, or maybe somebody that they can bring up. Yeah, it'll be a while. What else is there? Is there anybody else who's hurt, or do I have it all? There's
So
somebody else.
so the corresponding move, not that too many people care, for Eels was releasing Mike Ford, who triggered an opt out in his contract. So for the millionth year in a row, is this player the starting player at blank narrative lost out because Ty France got that job. But let's see. I'm trying to find his minor league stats. Ford hit 239, the 351 on base, 436 slug. That's a 109 weighted runs created plus in 49 games at St. Paul. I could see why you would opt out. 8 homers, and I think he actually started slow, so he's come along a bit. So, especially including spring training. There are teams looking for some first base DH help. And you know what? If you opt out, you can always come back. So I think that it'll be interesting to see where he lands, because that was probably a good move for him.
A good move for us would be letting you know, everybody, that we want to thank you for making Locked On Twins your first listen today. For your second listen, check out the all-new Locked On MLB Game Night. Every game, every night, all season long. Get local analysis on a national scale, and find MLB Game Night on Locked On MLB or on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. So, for Brandon Warren, this is Dave Brown wishing you all a very pleasant good evening. The Twins series continues in West Sacramento. Try and stay up late with us. It's fun until it's too tiring. But until that time arises, we are going to Alexei Casillas tomorrow night.